Hello, class. So we're restarting at PowerShell now. PowerShell is a command line interface used for management tasks in a Windows environment. It says server here, but really you can also, I have PowerShell running right here on my Windows 11 machine, in fact. So it doesn't have to be Windows Server. We're used to using command prompt. Let's clear the screen here. Yeah, we're used to using the command prompt, right? At least if you're old like me. Just to give you a few examples. All right. And PowerShell will enable us to do a lot more. It's a lot more powerful than the command line. Yeah, they gave us an example here. Get disk. You notice these are verb noun pairs. Get is the verb and disk is the noun. And so these are verb noun pairs. And so it basically tells us what action we want to perform on what. So I can open here and just say what? Get disk, right? There we go. It gives me my disk information. And you see it had number. That was a filter. They gave it where number is 0. Oh, darn. So that's a parameter. It's a parameter we're providing it, right? We're saying, hey, where number equals 0. So it's kind of a parameter we provide to get disk. Um, I think we saw earlier get local user to get my users on this machine, my local users. And we can even push these. Let's see, so we'll say get local user, name administrator. There we go. Um, we can also, we can pipe the output of one command into another commandlet. This will get the top one, the first get process entry that comes out. Right. So this is an example of one commandlet being piped into another. So the result to get process, we push into select object, and we tell select object we want the first one from whatever you're being sent. That's what we see here. Not all parameters require values. Right, correct. Yeah. There we go. I just want the ID. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, that was an incorrect example. Um, not all parameters require values, and really not all commandlets even require parameters. In some cases, the value for parameter will be stored in a variable. Yeah, we can declare a variable result. Oh, darn. There we go. Look at that. So here's my variable, and and loop through these. And I can even do fancy stuff. I can do, for each, blah blah blah, and I can iterate over them this way. This isn't a PowerShell scripting class, but that gives you an example. That gives you the idea. It's very powerful. You can do a lot more than you could with just shell scripts back in the day in Windows. Yeah, so you can use wildcards. You can use wildcards in PowerShell. So we can, if we open the ISE is good here. So you see PowerShell integrated scripting environment. So this will give us a file. Here, it actually opens. ah, All right, so it actually opens like this. If we want to start a new file, we'll do it this way. So instead of doing it in interactive mode here, we'll do it in batch mode. And so this way we can write multiple lines. And as we saw, we have two command, right? Result equals, what was it, get local user, and then echo, which is saying, print to the, oh, darn, we're saying print to the terminal result. And so it runs both of them in this fashion here. And so that's kind of an advantage of ISE. You don't have to, you can run everything at once. You don't have to kind of keep reassigning variables and run everything line by line all over, starting all over. So on the right-hand side of ISE, that's what I wanted to point out. Hey, we have all of these, we have a whole bunch. Look at this. We have a whole bunch of these commandlets, and um, we'll even have some, yeah, look at that. Wow. So we have a bunch of stuff available to us. Sorry. Here, sorry, let me close out and start over again. Yeah, here we go. All right. So we do have help available to us that way, and we also have, man, if we just want to look, we have autocomplete in the ISC, and that's awesome. But if you don't have access to that, well, wait a minute. Get command, that's it. Get command. Duh. Yeah. That'll be everything that starts with get. There's a ton, right? So let's say there's a get local, I or no, I know it had user in it, right? Remember, I was like, oh, I know it has get, and I know it has user. Um, we can start like so. I think this should work. There we go. Look at that. Get local user. So we can use kind of combinations of wildcards. That's what these are, right? These are wildcards. If I know something has get in it, something has user in it, then I can use such syntax. If I just know it has get in it, I can do that. And if I know it starts with get, I can emit the first wildcard, right? And a wildcard will match anything, uh, any zero or more characters. And so now, hey, look, it also gets me everything that starts with get. Now, if I do this, that won't work, right? Because then it'll be looking for anything that has whatever in the front, but that ends with get. Oh, okay. We got wget. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, wget will get the contents of a web page. Okay, we have some targets, iSCSI targets. Yeah, I should have known. But anyways, you get my point. Um, we could also do, if something ends with user, get local user will appear, right? Yeah, look at that. Disable local user, enable local user, get local user, new local user. Oh my gosh. So really we have a zillion. Mm, let's see if this is like command prompt then, and I think I've done this before. I think this works. Apologies if it doesn't, but it should. Oh no, you know what? Oh, actually it doesn't any longer. Count. Let's see. Give me just a sec. I'll cobble this together. I'll be right back. All right, so I did a little bit of sleuthing. Actually, it wasn't that difficult. So word count is not available for use in PowerShell. So it's measure object, and it's what line? Let's just measure object. and then we'll narrow it down. Count 1759. Okay, so that's it. 1,759 commandlets available to us at the current time. At the current time, you install updates, or if you install Windows Server 2025, I'll bet you'll see that increase. So here, as of the current time, we have 1,759 commandlets available to us here. Just core basic install. All right. Yeah. So again, if you want stuff that starts with something, you put the wildcard on the right side. It'll match zero more characters on the right side. So anything that matches get hyphen or get hyphen anything will match. And also on the left side, the same is true. Asterisk whatever will match whatever, as well as anything that ends in whatever. And also, you can use the dual wildcards to find command lines that have, that contain or that are a certain string, and you can also use combinations of them, as you saw as I did earlier. Yeah, and get help, you can also get help commandlet. So the combination of get command and get help are really a boon. Like I said, in the integrated script environment, you have autocomplete and you have the commandlet list that you can actually leverage, and so that's really powerful as well. Yeah, we saw an example of pipe, right? We did, I think it was what get process and select object first one. So select object is another commandlet uh, that will narrow your results, and minus first is the parameter that you pass it to get, the top X results. So you have minus first and minus last, and minus first one means get the very first result. How many of the first results from the results do you want? Well, heck, here, actually, let's expand it just a little bit further. We go what get process. I want to make sure you get that. Select object first. Let's look at the first 10. There we go. And I can also do last if I'm not mistaken. Believe that to be correct. Yep. There you go. Okay, Hyper-V and cloud computing. Let me check my time. Yeah, we're way good. So Hyper-V, like I said, Hyper-V is the hypervisor. It manages these virtual machines. It creates them. It can change the hardware that the virtual machine sees. It can delete them, change the storage, all of this stuff. So this is the Hyper-V is the Microsoft built-in hypervisor. I'm using VirtualBox, but Hyper-V is available on server class machines, on Windows Server machines. Has been for some time now. All right, so what is cloud computing? It's collection technologies for abstracting the details away to a certain extent. App storage network, other resources. Yeah, virtualization means, emulating environments. So that way we can have servers running inside of servers that aren't real servers, right? They're virtual servers. Uh, we can therefore in that way cheat and have more than one operating system installed and up and running concurrently on the same metal, on the same bare server metal. Virtual machine that's the guest, right? It emulates hardware. The host machine provides it the illusion of hardware, and the guest OS runs on that hardware illusion. Virtualization software. So, that's your hypervisor, right? This could be VirtualBox, uh, Hyper-V, what have you. Hyper-V software provides services to create and manage virtual machines on a Windows Server 2002 computer. Yeah, it has been since I think Windows Server 2012. You could maybe check me on that, but I think it's been the case since 2012. Installing an OS on a virtual machine is done using the same methods on a physical machine. In other words, the operating system, the guest machine, doesn't know that it's not on a real server. right? Like Pinocchio not knowing he's a real boy. The OS just doesn't know. It sees it sees the hardware that the host presents to it, installs itself on that hardware, and it is happy as a clam, doesn't either way. And we have a couple different cloud types, main cloud types, public cloud. So an example is Dropbox. I've been using Dropbox for 15 years now. Google Drive really, is a great one. Google Apps. These are examples of cloud computing. Private cloud is not available in public, whereas, something like Dropbox or Google would be. Private cloud is going to be hosted internally, and it's only for your org or enterprise. Typical services, yeah, would include virtual desktops, file storage, applications available over network only to you. VDI, yeah, you can use thin clients to connect to software in a private cloud. So, sort of you open your browser and you can, use software through your browser or even present that desktop, as it says here, have a thin client, present the desktop, interface with a browser as though you were actually on that machine's graphical user interface. Storage spaces. Yeah. So storage spaces, yeah, use a virtual drive to give you platform grade volume. Storage pools can be dynamically expanded and fault tolerant. So we have a lot to unpack in that sense. Virtual drive is created from a storage pool, which can consist of multiple disks. In other words, we combine the resources, the space available to us on one or more disks, and we can pool that, and then we can carve it up and have abstractions and have disks that we carved out of those disks, if you will, and it is completely transparent to us. To us, it appears to be a single logical disk like we used to think of back in the day, and now it could be spread over multiple drives, or multiple disks, rather, multiple physical disks. Um, Volumes can be created from multiple drive types. Yeah, so you can create from, serial ATA, USB, SAS. Drives can be internal or external. Duh, right? We're all familiar, hopefully, anyways, with external drives as well. They're little little clunky, but you can we can have external drives as well. They don't have to be internal to the machine. And RAID volumes need not be created from the same size disks. And that one's kind of important. Back in the day, if you had a redundant array of independent drives, they all had to be pretty much the same and pretty much uniform. Not the case anymore. Now with storage spaces, with modern storage spaces, we can kind of carve them up as we like. They're all the RAID drives don't have to be the same size. All right, so this one's important here. Permits thin provisioning, which means that physical disk space isn't allocated for a volume until it's actually needed. So what does that really mean? We can create with the option, we can kind of create a disk that we reserve space for that we don't have. So we can create a new logical disk in thin mode and actually have it be, 5,000 gig when we only have 1 gig of storage right now on hand at the current time. And so that's pretty interesting because we can reserve this and have it there on hand. Excuse me, have it there on hand, and we can expand as needed, kind of in a just-in-time fashion, if you will. And actually, let's take a look right now. All right. So storage spaces first, let's go to disk management. Remember, we installed those two additional disks. I'm trying to find disk management here if I can. I'll just, yeah, there we go. We installed those two additional disks. Here they are. They're appearing to us here, disk one and disk two. I'll bring them online and I'll initialize them. Yeah, I don't need a master boot record. It's not going to be it's not going to be a partition. It's not going to be a uh, OS home. All right, so now they're both online, and now where did my? It doesn't matter. All right. So here are volumes. Remember volumes like a drive letter. You see how we have C here? C, D, E, those are volumes. We can look at the disks, the underlying disks. You see we have three right here. Windows does recognize them. We have our base one, and then we have our two GPTs that we just initialized and actually brought online that were the extra ones we created when we created the virtual machine. So these are really, they're not disks, right? They're just virtual representation. They're abstractions that are, I don't know, they're not even abstractions, they're virtual disks that are presented from our host machine to the guest. And so the guest doesn't know that these aren't real disks. So we have three. It thinks we're looking at three real disks. Okay, storage pool. Remember, we can pool our storage. We can create a pool of storage, meaning that we pool all of the available space on these disks. Create a new virtual disk wizard. But in order to do that, I have to create a storage pool because a virtual disk is created from a pool. So basically, I have to combine my resources from these disks, and I'll just call this thing test or something like that. So this is my local machine here. Right. I'll take both of those. Yeah, hopefully, cross your fingers. Should work. Yeah, all right. And I'll go ahead and create a virtual. You know what? We won't do that. We won't do that. We'll be shortcutting. There we go. So now, if I select that storage pool, here we go. And I wanted to show you the extra click. I didn't want you to think it was all magic. So this is where you would do the extra click right here. Okay, so I'm creating a new virtual disk from this pool. See, it has 100 gig capacity, 50 times 2. It's about that minus partitioning. It's a little overhead partitioning. Test the virtual disk. Take care about that. Okay, I'll choose simple. By the way, um, see if we mirror and copies our data. So that's more redundant, right? Remember we were talking about RAID, different RAID levels. So anyway, simple is striped. That's also a RAID level. So you see our virtual disks can be fault tolerant. Now here's the important part. Thin. All right, so fixed will just give me, it says, hey, you got 100 gig, I'm going to give you 100 gig. Thin is where I can do my just-in-time additions down the road if I want. Might take additional space to create a, yeah, you think? All right, anyways, create. Did we have, oh, bro, I think we had a hang. Let's go back in. Hmm. Okay, give me just a minute. This is a little weird. I am gonna troubleshoot this. Be right back. Okay, I restarted and oh, darn. I restarted and it actually it did create the disk. It crashed. I had to bounce the whole server. Um, but anyways, there you go. Look at that. Capacity 97.7 terabyte because I gave it 99999. Apparently, whatever you know, it's uh, in conversion 97.7 terabytes because you know, 1,000 isn't actually 1,000 in binary. It's 1,024. So you have a little less than the actual advertised. But yeah, so there you go. So we have a lot of flexibility available to us. It's a whole lot of, we probably haven't scratched the surface. I probably don't know 0.1% of everything, Windows Server 2022 is capable of. And, that's okay because there's the old 80/20 rule, right? So the features that you would use most are really what you concentrate on anyways. All right, so I'll go ahead and stop here and we will pick up with, yep, hybrid infrastructure next.